Welcome back to the deep dive. We often talk about the fun side of FinOps, the big optimization wins, the massive
The
savings.
sexy stuff.
Exactly, the sexy stuff. But let's be honest, none of that can happen if your data is, well, if it's a mess.
That's the fundamental truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before you analyze or optimize anything, you have to get the data right. And that's why today we're doing a deep dive into the absolute foundation of everything else, data ingestion.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to show you how to get past that chaos of raw cloud billing files. We're going to break down how to collect, transfer, store, and this is the big one, normalize data from all these different sources.
Right, to create that single, complete, contextual data set that you can actually trust.
So you're ready for that sophisticated analysis.
And getting to that ready state is, I think, the biggest challenge in early FinOps.
Hmm.
The lie is that ingestion is simple. It's not just downloading a CSV. It's building an entire translation service. I mean, these cloud provider data sets, your AWS CUR, your Azure Export, they are massive, they're proprietary, and they are so complex. They were never designed to be used by standard BI tools out of the box.
Right. That's the key thing, I think, for everyone to realize. You can't just point your company's SQL dashboard at the raw file and get answers.
Not a chance. This complexity, this inconsistency, it forces you to invest in this capability. It means you have to gather, transfer, process, transform, and then correlate all these different data sets.
Just to get that single queryable repository.
Exactly. And you have to guarantee the right level of granularity and make sure it's accessible to the whole organization.
Okay, let's unpack that. The process of gathering. What's so interesting to me is how much it varies based on your maturity. If I'm a small company on one cloud, my strategy is probably pretty simple, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you're just starting out, you might just rely on the cloud provider's own tools.
Yeah.
You're probably only looking at, highly summarized data.
Clicking a few buttons in the console.
Pretty much. But the second you move into custom analysis, or you're using specialized tools like Kubernetes, or especially multi-cloud, then the complexity just explodes.
Because now you have different formats, different currencies.
Different resource IDs, and you have to somehow make them all talk to each other.
Which brings us right to that crucial data mix. Because we are talking about way more than just the monthly bill here. To do FinOps right, you need to pull in data from everywhere.
You really do. The inputs have to go deep into the business and the tech layers because cost by itself, it just doesn't tell you anything.
So what's first?
First, you might need modified billing data. So maybe data with adjusted or marked up pricing if you're, say, a managed service provider.
So it's like an internal version of the bill, not the raw one from the provider.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. Then you need the technical context. This is your cloud resource utilization, your performance data. You can't optimize a server if you don't know if it's busy or just sitting there idle.
Makes sense.
And critically, you need your CMDB data, your configuration management database. That's your IT inventory. It tells you who owns a resource and what that resource actually is.
Okay, so now we're connecting the dollars from the bill to the actual usage from the utilization data to the owner from the CMDB. That's a powerful combination.
The triangulation.
But to talk optimization, we have to talk money, the actual business outcomes.
This is the really transformative part. Your ingestion stream has to include business data, things like revenue from a specific service or the number of customers you're supporting or the number of transactions processed.
Because without that, you're just cutting costs blindly.
Right. If you don't ingest revenue alongside costs, you can't tie your decisions back to shareholder value. You're just guessing. This is what makes cost data into business data.
That makes perfect sense. But how do you stitch all that together? I mean, highly technical data like Kubernetes metrics with high-level business data like Q3 revenue, that sounds like a normalization nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And the answer is in two places.
Yep.
Metadata and standardization. First, your metadata. So your tags and labels from your allocation strategy, that gives you the keys to correlate everything. Every piece of data needs a common identifier, like a business unit ID or a product name.
And that brings us to the hero of this story. Or, well, it's more of a technical specification than a hero, I guess.
Exactly. We're talking about the FinOps Open Cost and Usage Specification, or FOCUS. It's a spec designed to solve this exact correlation problem.
How does it do that?
It delivers consistency. It defines a standard schema, a common set of column names, data types for cloud cost data across every single vendor.
So instead of me trying to figure out if AWS's line item usage amount is the same as Azure's quantity.
Focus just says, we're all going to call this usage units.
Ah.
And that improves interoperability. It means all your tools, third-party or custom-built, can speak the same language instantly. It makes getting that unified repository so much easier and cheaper.
Okay, so we know what data we need and the tools to standardize it. Let's talk about managing this whole thing. The framework breaks this down into 3 pillars of data ingestion management. Let's start with number 1, managing data sources.
Right. This starts by looking at what the other FinOps capabilities need. Your reporting team tells you, we need daily cost data by team. Your unit economics people say, we need customer counts correlated by product.
So the needs of the business drive what you collect.
Precisely. Those requirements determine your granularity, the specific data elements, the metrics you have to gather from each source. It's like a data contract.
And it's not a one-time thing, I assume.
No, it's ongoing. You have to stay in contact with your data source providers, whether they're internal teams or external vendors, because their APIs change, their data structures change. You have to be ready for that.
Okay. Pillar 2 feels critical for trust, ensuring data quality. This is about making sure the data that arrives is actually correct, right?
Correct and normalized. You have to build mechanisms to guarantee that consistent quality. For instance, if you decide producted is your main normalization key, you need automated checks to make sure that key is there and formatted correctly across all your different data sources.
And what happens when things break? Because they will break.
They will. That's why observability and alerting are just non-negotiable. If your ingestion process suddenly goes off the rails, like if latency spikes or your Azure export is half the size it should be, teams need to know immediately.
Bad data leads to bad decisions.
Very bad decisions. If you tell finance a product cost $10,000 yesterday when it actually cost $100,000, that has immediate negative consequences.
I can just picture the panic during the reconciliation meeting.
Oh, yeah. So this pillar also requires real policy and governance. You have to define the rules for frequency, currency, how up-to-date the data is, granularity, auditing, all of it, so everyone can trust it as that single source of truth.
Which leads right into the 3rd pillar, maintaining data timeliness and availability. So we've collected it, we've cleaned it, now we have to store it so people can actually use it.
Exactly. Now we're focused on a repository design. You have to build a data store that meets your reporting needs. You have to think about size, cost, performance, resiliency.
Do I need a super fast data warehouse, or is cheaper object storage good enough?
That's the question. And this is also where you define where the actual normalization happens, your ETL process, and what keys you'll use to stitch all those sources together into that final single schema.
And once it's built?
Communication is everything. You report your ingestion metrics to the teams that depend on the data, like unit economics, and you give clear guidance to everyone on how to access it, and you set honest expectations for its quality and availability.
So we know the parts and the principles. Let's talk about how this evolves. The maturity journey, crawl, walk, run, gives everyone a clear path. Let's start at crawl.
Okay. If you are listening right now, and you're still downloading raw cloud reports and using VLOOKUPs in spreadsheets to connect cost to a team.
Which sounds painfully familiar to a lot of people.
It is. If that's you, you are squarely in the crawl stage. You're relying on the native cloud tools, you're looking at summarized data, and the key thing is you're analyzing data from different sources separately.
So if I want to know the cost of product X, I'm manually digging through 3 different systems, using tags, and then adding it all up myself.
You got it. The tags let you do some correlation, but it's a manual, error-prone process.
Yeah.
It takes a ton of effort just to get a high-level picture.
Okay, so moving into the walk stage, this is where things start to get more sophisticated. This is where the FinOps team starts building real leverage.
Definitely. The walk stage is about true integration. Now you're ingesting resource-level data from multiple clouds, from your utilization logs, from other sources, and the huge leap is that you're actively normalizing your cost metrics.
Give me an example of normalizing a cost metric.
Okay, think about reserved instances or savings plans. Every cloud vendor handles them differently in their billing files. In the walk stage, you create a consistent definition for amortized cost or commitment savings so that a number in your dashboard means the same thing no matter which cloud it came from.
So you're starting to use something like the FOQS specification here to get your dimensions aligned.
Exactly. You're building that solid, consolidated foundation of standardized data.
So what does mastery look like? When we hit the run stage, what are we seeing?
The run stage is all about a comprehensive, unified data platform. You're managing a single repository that has everything. Cloud usage, cost, performance, utilization, even sustainability data, all correlated.
And ingest it at the highest level of detail possible.
At the most granular level. This is what lets you do really complex analytics and project optimizations with high confidence. And the normalization is complete. Your dimensions and cost metrics are normalized across all data sources.
Not just the cloud providers.
Not just cloud. You're pulling in data from SaaS vendors like Salesforce or Snowflake, maybe license provider data. You're connecting all of that spend to your unit economic calculations. Your quality checks are fully automated. This is true data mastery.
Building this kind of system, it's obviously not just a job for the data team. It's a cross-functional effort. Let's talk about who does what.
Well, the FinOps practitioner is really the architect. They're the ones determining the granularity, establishing the data model for normalization, and proactively validating all the data sources to catch changes early.
They build the foundation.
They do. And then you have finance. They have a huge quality control role.
Beyond just reconciliation, right?
Yeah. They lead the data completeness and quality validation. They make sure what's in your repository actually matches the invoices and the general ledger. They're the ultimate truth test for the numbers.
And engineering. They're providing the raw materials.
And the context. They give you access to the performance and usage data, the stuff you need to connect cost to efficiency. And they're often the first line of defense, identifying discrepancies when they look at the data, because it doesn't match what they see in their systems.
You know, I find procurement's role here really interesting. They're connecting these requirements all the way back to the contracts.
It's just smart, proactive risk mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
Procurement bakes the data ingestion requirements, the access, the format, the delivery schedule, right into the vendor contracts. It's contractually obligated.
Which prevents headaches down the line.
A lot of headaches. And finally, you need leadership. They provide the mandate. They have to support the whole strategy for a centralized, single source of truth and communicate why it's so important for decision-making.
Without that buy-in, everyone just stays in their silos.
And the whole effort fails.
Okay, so if those are the roles, how do we measure success? How do we know if our data ingestion capability is actually working well?
We use specific KPIs, mostly around speed and completeness. First, timeliness. Is your AWS CRR file arriving daily at the expected time? If it's late, your process is already failing.
And what about when problems do pop up?
You need a service level objective. Reports of quality issues have to be investigated within, say, 1 business day and resolved within 3. We also track key time metrics. Data currency, how old is the data? Ingest time, and then your ETL or normalization time. How long does it take to go from raw to ready for analysis?
It makes the whole pipeline transparent. So what's the bottom line measure, the ultimate KPI?
It's actually really simple. It's the percentage of your total cloud cost that's available for reporting in that normalized format. If you run a report and it only shows 90% of your actual monthly spend, your ingestion process has a 10% failure rate. The goal is 100% every day.
So let's circle back to the core lesson here. The goal of data ingestion isn't just to hoard the biggest data set you can get in real time.
Not at all.
It's about gathering and integrating the specific data that provides value to your organization at your current maturity level. And it's something that requires continuous, iterative work.
That's it exactly. Data ingestion is the engine. It powers everything else, especially advanced capabilities like unit economics. And it's so critical to remember that the inputs aren't just technical metrics. They are business outcomes, like revenue or transaction counts. That's what makes this strategic.
That integration really is the whole story. Which leaves me with a final thought. If effective FinOps requires correlating this super granular technical data with high-level business data like revenue and customer count, does that mean the most effective FinOps teams have to be as deeply embedded in the business domain as they are in the cloud architecture? Something for you to chew on until the next deep dive.